Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA, plus exclusive experiences, discounts, and tickets. Already a AAA member? Upgrade for free or join today at AAA.com/Commanders. Hello and welcome to another live stream of the John Keim Report. As you can see, I'm joined by the voice of the Commanders, Bram Weinstein. We're going to talk about that big win the other day against the Chargers. We're going to talk about a little bit about the Bears, maybe that Hail Mary. And I think, Bram, you may have gotten a little bit excited on that call last year. Don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. You can listen to Bram, ESPN 630. He's got the podcast over as well over on Empire Media. So check it out there. So, Bram, let's get to it. I felt like the other day for about a quarter, I'm watching that thinking, I've seen this team before, and it was the bad team. It was a team from a few years ago, right? The team that like they couldn't get out of their own way, and then it switched, and I finally saw the team that I thought this team could be. What do you think?
Well, best performance by Jaden in the 3 games that he's played. And honestly, throughout the summer, you know, we talked about this a lot, that the offense really wasn't clicking in general. Right. And then, of course, obviously a lot of people were in and out of the lineup. You know, Coleman was out and Noah Brown was never practicing and Terry was never practicing. And Cliff was saying, you know, I got to get guys on the grass. And I wasn't surprised that the offense got off to a slow start. And then he comes back. We're waiting to see how much is the knee injury going to affect him. And I think he kind of got his sea legs back. And he made a few plays that were beyond reminiscent of him from a year ago. Their offensive line, which I hope we get into in a minute, was outrageous, I thought, in this game. And their defensive line ended up with a really, really, really marginalized team, but they did what they were supposed to do, and they totally took advantage of it. And they were, as like Quinn said, I think we had him on our pregame show, we have him on, and the first thing out of his mouth was, I want them to feel, the Chargers, our speed and violence. And this was really, I thought, the first game where that also happened, where across the board, this was a wildly physical team. And I got the feeling as the second half was kind of going along there that the Chargers wanted nothing to do with it. And in a lot of different spaces from a lot of different players.
Listen, there was a play that kind of sums that up a little bit, where I think it was Quentin Johnson was running like a little crosser. And Mikey Samerstill steps up, and I mean, and I took a screenshot of it. I don't know that I included in my second thoughts. I don't think I did. But you see him just drill the heck out of him. I mean, he just pops him, and it's a legal hit because it was within that range. But like, that's kind of what you're talking about. Like, and you're watching, like, I don't think he's going to run across the middle like that freely again, right? Yeah. I saw Marshawn Lattimore on a couple of his reroutes being very physical with guys, yes, moving them off their spot and disrupting timing of a throw. So you definitely, you know, you felt that. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think it did feel like that was the first time like you started to see like, this is what this team can become. There's still stuff they got to clean up. There were still coverage issues, et cetera. But you could see like, okay, get your health back, and then you know, you're going to be okay in these situations because, you know, road game, not like it's a tough road environment, still a road game against a good team. Like, I don't care what they did last week. It's still a good team with good pieces and banged up, but so are these guys. So yeah, I thought, yeah.
Jaden also, it took a minute. Obviously, it took a minute, but I'll point to a couple of plays, first half first, and then, you know, we can get to some of the other ones. But, you know, Quinn talked about this, and I totally agreed with this, like the sentiment of it was 10-0 when the Chargers were driving and Quan Martin makes the play. They were basically in the red zone after the catch. That is beyond a field goal. Cameron Dicker misses nothing from that range, right, and might be a touchdown. It might be 17-0 the way they're going. And Quan Martin makes the play that I think if this becomes what we think it's going to be, which is hopefully a launching pad for them, that's going to be the play that turned the season around. What's lost after that, though, is the very next set of downs after they got the ball, got to a 3rd and 16. Third and 16, and Jaden made his first big time. These were the plays he made last year. Throw that was caught by Jalen Lane in the middle of the field, coming back to the ball in traffic. He's getting better as they go along. End of the half, they get the second chance. He loads one up to McCaffrey, who had incredible body positioning, perfect throw, 50 yards in the air, makes the catch. And then I went, these were the points. When it got to 10-10 at halftime, there was no doubt in my mind what was going to happen in the second, like zero doubt, because We had the 5 that I remember from 2024 back, feeling it, confident, and the other team was literally on both sides of the ball getting run over.
Right. And I think that's what I meant. I think the other team felt them more than in any other game this season for sure. And I agree with you. That 3rd and 16, because it's funny because I get home Monday morning, take the red eye, and I think one of the first things my wife said to me is like that she thought like the biggest play was that 3rd and 16 because of exactly what you said, that it got him into that rhythm. And it was a big time play because you can get the turnover. That turnover, and I still say the turnover is the biggest thing. If you can get the turnover, but you just have to punt, they're still in position to go up 13 or 17-0 because they really, like in their mind, they hadn't stopped you, right? Washington hadn't stopped them. So they're going to still feel good despite that. And so getting that and then getting points in that drive was tremendous. But yeah, that play, what surprised me, Bram, is, there was traffic. There was an open throw. Like there was a good passing lane with it, whether it's play design, whatever it was a really good job. The line and, it's just other people talking about this, but the line did a good job protecting him. And
yes.
He routinely had sometimes I'm clocking it like 3.8 seconds, 3.9 seconds here. Like that was, and in the run game, really good. So that was what you think they could be. And Bram, they did it with 2 of their top 3 receivers out. Austin Eckler's still out, right? Or obviously out. Sam Cosmi's still not there. So like there's room for improvement with that. And that's why that's a game to build on for sure.
Yeah, like early in the game, they struggled moving the ball. The first time that Jaden called his own number, he didn't hit the hole very quickly. Like I think it took a second. And then I remember there was a play in the second half. They were spying him with Deion Henley. And Henley saw an open lane and went after him. And then he just juked him and took off and ran up the middle and ended up like an 8-9 yard gain. And I went, and these were the moments where I started going, okay, Superman's back. Like he missed a couple of weeks, couldn't wait to get back out there. I wondered about his knee. Honestly, the whole offense didn't look right the whole summer. The first couple of games, the offense was, okay. And this was the moment. He got his groove back. And all of a sudden, if he's going to start making these plays, and I'm glad you brought up the offensive line, and I put up a comment from them. Tyler Biotish was outrageous in this game, outrageously great in this game, pulling numerous times on the first Bill touchdown.
Yes.
He finished off a second block. Chris Paul had a block. He finished off a block, got in front of it and blocked another guy, cut off the edge, touchdown. Biotish over and over was moving. At one point, he pulled and picked up a rusher on the left side. The center was out blocking a left defensive end. He was great. They were pulling Chris Paul. Chris Paul was getting out in front of things.
He arrived with some power for him.
Big change for him. He's a very strong player. He's become a more versatile player. They're pulling with him. They can pull with everybody. There's nobody they can't do it with. They were getting their groove going, and they were just moving people. I mean, it was incredible. Like this is the Tunsil, the Tunsil effect of having him and moving this stuff down the line. And we haven't even gotten Cosmi back. Watch out. Like this thing could, if Cosmi comes back and starts to hopefully within 4, 5, 6 weeks look like himself, watch out what this is going to look like.
Right. And so because we're talking about the offensive line, I'm going to answer this one question here from Zach, who wants to know if there's any chance, because they're sitting Brandon Coleman, would they shop him? First of all, you want line depth. Like, I don't think they have that kind of line depth where you're going to give up a young player who they still like, just because he's not playing. So, no. I don't think that would make sense. I don't know that what you would get with them for him, but I don't think that would make sense because you don't want to give up guys they haven't given up on him. I think part of it is, hey, can he be available? Can you be durable? Because he hasn't been. And then you have another guy in Chris Paul. And to be honest, Bram, like if Chris Paul goes in there and he struggles at all because somehow is not doing well, you can always put Andrew Wiley over there once Cosmi's back.
Let me say this about Coleman too, because I was on with Al Galdi today, and Al was asking me about was I surprised by this, and I'm like, Not particularly if you watched Chris Paul in the summer because of the camp that he had. Like, if you did the numbers going into the camp, he was like on the cut line. Like, he was going to be one of those players. Like, I wasn't sure he was going to make the team. He had an outrageous camp. He was terrific. He had lost some weight. He was showing he's a very powerful player. Everybody talks about how strong he is. And like, so he won himself into this position. And I would say this about Coleman, like, because Chris Paul also, he was a later draft pick. We're now, 4 years into his career, and he's emerging this way. I wouldn't give up on Brandon Coleman for a second. Like, he didn't play a lot in college. He was put at tackle. He's transitioned. He's missed a lot of time this summer and into the first couple of games here. There would be absolutely no inclination for me whatsoever other than to continue to develop him. And his story ain't done. Like, he could end up playing again this year for sure.
Right. Before we go on to the next topic, Bram, I do want to say this. Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Commanders MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive team events and experiences, along with 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Already a AAA member, add the Commanders MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive. Bram, with Chris Paul, and you're right, like you saw it this summer, and he's the strength has never been in question for him. It was more about the ability to play on the move, but you're seeing that. And I think that's a really good thing. Connolly, I think that it was doing a better job. There's still some issues in pass pro, and I don't think they were magnified because you're not facing the same kind of rushers the last couple of weeks. But in the run game, I think he's been pretty solid. So you still see progress there. And I always thought, and I've said this a number of times, that the second half of the year for this line would be much better because Cosme back, get him a few weeks to get healthy. Connolly learn to develop and grow, a group coming together. So I think there's a lot of reason why they should feel pretty good as they move forward with that group. And it's, again, there's sometimes like the pockets were really good. And that's a good thing for a quarterback. And I also felt like Jaden played maybe one of his smarter games, just getting down a few times, but throwing the ball away. And, he just doesn't put the ball in harm's way. He really, it's funny because he's got flash to his game. He's got the, that dynamic ability. He's got the great arm, but he doesn't force all that. He lets it come naturally. And I think that's it doesn't always happen that way. And I think they're playing a quarterback Monday who loves the flash, and he plays with that flash, and the flash works. But there's an inconsistency to his game, I think, in part because the other stuff for Jaden leads to more of that consistency. So, just my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah. Jaden, listen, what his magic is, his instincts are unbelievable. And then he's got this high, obviously, athleticism to go along with it. And, it was finally for the first time, I think, since camp started on display, right? On display in this game. You got to see it. The magic throws, the Debo throw at the end of the game, the throw to Jalen Lane we referenced, the throw to McCaffrey, we referenced a couple of plays where he's juking people out of their shoes, the ease at which he can just get a first down by, getting to the corner right before, someone can catch up to him. Like, all the natural instincts that he has were there. And then, not to switch subjects on you, but Bill, that wasn't just a breakout game. We might have a very elusive special type of running back on our hands now. He plays with patience, with power, with vision, and with instincts. And considering how little he played last year, I'm shocked to see it in that package already. And he was just outstanding the other day.
Oh, for sure. And there are a couple of things that I talked about in my second thoughts stuff today after rewatching the game again. He can get skinny. And I talked with him about that the other day. And one of his runs against Atlanta, he really liked because he had to get skinny. There's a run like that the other day. And then I think the vision and the cuts, he's very patient. And for a rookie who hadn't played at all last year, except for one game, to be that patient to me is says something. And I think that's really, really good in his part. But you see, there was one run where he's patient, cuts up, somebody flashed in the hole, and he immediately cuts here. But it's in rhythm. It's at full speed. There's no stutter stepping. Boom, go. I'm just over here. So that's, and I think that's a very rare thing for a rookie. The other one that I liked is I was talking to someone over there today about this play where he is running down the right side, and who's down there trying to throw a block for him was Jaden. And
Yes.
so, but I think you have a lot of guys who really like playing, which is of course important, but it doesn't always happen. Oh, by the way, and someone I brought up, because we're talking about the offensive line first, but there's someone who's saying all O-lines get better and better as the year goes on. That's not true, because last year's team, the O-line got worse. So I don't think that's always true. But the reason I say it in this time, because you have a rookie who's going to get better the more he plays. And you have a guy coming back off an ACL who was your best lineman last year. And now he's back. He'll be back. So and he's not going to be sharp right away. So down the stretch, it's going to be better. But last year down the stretch, that O-line got worse in the run game, and that was a big problem. So I think the other thing too, Bram, going back to Bill, that you would see last year, too many times guys running into the backs, it was with the B-Rob or someone else, into the backs of the blockers. You don't see that with him. He's really good at setting guys up. It's just, there's a lot to like about him. I do like how they've brought him along. I do like that they didn't force it to him, and he only quote only had 14 carries. I don't know that he's going to be a 20 to 25 carry guy, but if you get him the 14, 15 range and get him a few passes like that, he can do some damage.
His vision's tremendous. Both touchdown runs. He hits it. He goes. His instincts are right there. And my favorite one of his from the other day, he got out of what would have been like a collar tackle by Derwin James of all people, right? Breaks out of this. And then, in most cases, a running back breaks out of something like that, they just keep going straight ahead and they either get tackled or whatever. Kind of like what McNichols did on his touchdown run. He broke out of the pack and got in front and just took off straight. He's just going. Not Bill. Bill broke out of this tackle by Derwin James and then set up a block 10 yards down the field, waited for a block, set up a block and got around it and got an extra 5 to 7 yards. He's finishing runs. He's physical. His improvisation is incredible. This 3 weeks in a row that people are grasping for air. He needs to tuck his shirts in because half the time all they get is a piece of his T-shirt. I know that they're going to still running back by committee, but it's going to be harder and harder and harder not to increase the role more and more and more, because we talked about this after last year. They needed to find explosive playmakers at all the different position groups, and they found one in Bill for sure.
Yeah, and he's a good story. He's a really good story and a fun guy to be around because he just really enjoys being out there. So, and it's, that's what you need to, if you want to rebuild this roster, you've got to find guys like that. You also have to, it's funny because there's been a lot of attention on Marshawn Lattimore, right? The trade for him, and has it worked? I will say, I thought he played really well on Sunday. Maybe his best game here, considering against the Saints last year, they didn't test him. They didn't have a quarterback. They didn't have receivers. They had both on Sunday, and they didn't really test him at all. And the one time he gave up, the longest one was that crosser where he bumped into Quan Martin because they're playing a stack probably incorrectly because they're at the same depth. But, overall did a really nice job. But whatever you want to think of that trade, they gave up a lot for him, get it, hadn't played, you need to see more consistency. But Javon Kinlaw, criticized, people wondered about the signing at the least, trading for Debo, trading for Tunsil. Those three have paid off pretty big time.
Yeah, they did. Kinlaw was blowing plays up again. He continues to. I think he's happy here. Obviously he's healthy. I mean, that was part of his story in San Francisco. I don't even want to go back into they overpaid him conversation, which was so absurd at the time when I heard it. I'm like, I don't think you know what the defensive tackle market is. He's getting half of what Milton Williams got. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, he's just been from day one. They talk about him, how he just in practice, he's blowing things up every day. It's cartoonish what he does, how he throws people out of the way. He's been outstanding. And I like this one too. I agree with this. And I thought this might be something that would come up this year. Sunset writes, is this the best special teams unit the team has had since the B. Mitch days? I don't know if I'll go back that far, but I will say with Reeves, with Percy Butler when healthy, with Tyler Owens, shockingly, because I looked this up today, the guy with the most tackles on special teams is actually Colson Yankoff already this year.
Oh, he's done well.
He's been good on it.
McCaffrey does well there.
Valor's a missile. McCaffrey has the highest or number 2 kickoff return average now, and they're going to put Debo back there eventually again. He was just they're putting a lot on his plate because of the injuries at receiver, so they don't want to, take too much off of him. And McCaffrey is among the best kick returners, and he's getting it on these plays. I thought this might be a weapon for them. 2 weeks in a row, Larry Izzo has called out illegal formations against the other team. So it's like forcing these like changes to them. I thought special teams would be a weapon for them in return and coverage units. And they have the metrics and the eye test for all of it. Like they are killing people on that. Like we finally have that third phase of the game. We have an advantage in it this year. Well,
hey, listen, and the kicker has been good the last few weeks. So really the last
8, John, 8 for his last 8. Games. I'm not going to complain.
Last 2.5 weeks. So that problem has been solved. But yeah, no, and Jalen Lane is a returner, so they are in a very good spot. I do want to update this real quick because Juan wants to know the scoop on Drake Jackson signing, and then Trey Burks will also be available. Yeah, Burks is available because the team that drafted him cut him, and he's coming off a fractured collarbone. He's played 27 games in like 4 years. Yeah. He missed last year with the torn ACL. Even if whatever team signs him, you're not going to get a whole lot this year. As far as Drake Jackson goes, nothing is going on as far as I know there, my understanding. So, he was there. He hasn't been signed. There you go. So, and again, same thing, like guys like that, you're not signing for some kind of immediate help. Anyway, so let's get back on to the topic. The other thing is like to update on Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown. We don't know yet whether they're going to play. And I always kind of joke, like, I'll update you guys on Wednesday. When I talk about on Wednesday, I'm going to say that I'll update you on Friday or Saturday this week because that's what we get. And we don't know. I will say, Bram, I think I would say I'm optimistic. They seem to be optimistic, but I'd be optimistic on Terry this week. But we still don't know what does that mean. Like, and I think for Noah Brown, if he misses this week, then it's like, well, why didn't you put him on IR? And I think if they had known he'd miss 4 weeks, he would have been. So, you would like to think that he would get back just from that logic thinking, but we don't know yet. And so we'll know more.
I'll just tell you what I know on that like, I'm very optimistic we see Noah Brown this week, but I'll know, I like you. I don't really know. And we'll know more probably starting tomorrow. And with Terry, I'm on a wait and see situation. As of a couple weeks ago, not 2 weeks ago, like a week ago, before the Chargers game, I was under the impression Terry wasn't playing, but Jaden was. And the hope was Terry would be back for this one. And so we'll see. Right. Like we'll wait and see what Dan Quinn says tomorrow about it.
And what I know is watching him run last week, he looked pretty good. And that's a good sign. So, and by the way, an update, somebody asked about Javonte Jean-Baptiste, and it was updated last week. He tore his pec. He's going on IR. It's the same injury John Allen had. The difference is what kind of tear is it? John Allen's tear was not as bad. That's why he could come back later in the year. If it's a full tear, you're done for the year. So just as an update to that, but yeah, Bram, it's, I am curious too, like the bump they get from that game Sunday, like, does it help them? Not so much, the momentum is like week to week, right? The momentum was caused by a turnover by Quan Martin, but I also felt like their mindset was in the right place for that game to overcome that slow start. But I do wonder, like, what does this mean for them, the bounce they get going forward from that game, do you think?
Yeah, I hope so. I want to read you. This is my favorite stat that I got. I'm getting ready for the Bears game so far because they've alternated wins and losses this entire year. Dating back to 1932, they have never alternated wins and losses in the first 6 games of any season, which means if that were to hold, they win on Monday night against the Bears.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's really good. By the way, I do want to go back to Kinlaw too, because I didn't chime in with any, but the things that I always felt like when they signed him, I'm like, okay, you watch him in film. I know he's inconsistent. The thing I always went back to, Bram, is Adam Peters had him in San Francisco. Daryl Tapp coached him. Joe Witt badly wanted him. And Dan Quinn made his coaching career coaching the D line. So what did they see in him that they could get to him? And I also think, like, he moves, or they're moving him around more on those stunts and all that. He's blowing guys up. They're getting one-on-ones. With the Jets last year, a lot of times when I saw him, he's having to occupy double teams, take on double teams. And he would get a bit upright doing that, looking for the ball, and then he's getting moved out. That's not a lot of what he's doing this year. So like he's in position, they're putting him in a better position, it seems, to make plays. And like and also the health, like the health is a big thing. Like they felt one of the things that they talked about all off season with him is he hadn't been healthy long enough to have a sustained level of play. Now he is. So I think that makes a difference. But he and Payne are killing it. And I can tell you, like in talking to other teams, like those are the two like teams worry about on this side, on that side of the ball. So
yeah,
he
made a crazy play the other day. He busted through the line, realized it was a running back screen, followed the running back, and threw him down for a loss. Payne's had an outrageous year. And it's funny, with all the bad plays, that they've had, all the big plays that they've given up, they're actually number 2 on defense in negative plays from the opponent. Like they've had the second most negative plays, which I don't think anybody thinks, because of all the big plays that they've given up. There still is work to do here. Like there still clearly is some communication on the back end, but all of this stuff is, leading up to, I don't think we've seen the best of this team. That was by far the best I saw of it. And it was nice to see Jaden kind of get his groove back. It was the best I saw of it through 5 games. And after the camp, I mean, honestly, I wasn't sure exactly what we were going to get because it just didn't quite look like it had been ready to get going on both sides of the ball at the same time. And so I'm hoping here we are in the middle of the season and this could be the jumpstart game, but they got to turn around, go beat Chicago. It's their, last home game for the next few weeks. They got 2 tough road trips. Dallas is scoring a lot of points right now. They're getting a lot of big plays on a lot of people right now. It's always hard to win down there. And then they got to go to Arrowhead in a game that's starting to feel like they're going to need it, the Chiefs, the way that they've started their season right now. So this is an imperative, important game on Monday night. And hopefully it's a momentum building one, because even in rewatching it, they were a post the first quarter. They were an absolutely punishing, dominant team. On offense, I wouldn't call it yards after catch. It was hits after catch. They were running people over. The defensive line was dominant. The offensive line, I thought it was their best game by far. Biotish was outrageous. Paul was outrageous. Connerly's getting better. Tunsil's a stalwart. It's good. But there's, clearly there's a long way to go. But it was really good. And I agree with like how you started this. This is the first time I saw this team play like the team I remember from last year.
Yeah, and I'm going to get to some more of that in a minute, but I do want to say this, Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Commanders MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive team events and experiences, along with 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Already a AAA member, add the Commanders MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive. I know everybody loves when I read that. So but hey, appreciate everybody listening with that. Bram, but just to close it out here, and I do want to answer Silver Fox's question about Tay Martin staying on the roster and moving Chris Moore back to the practice squad when Noah returns. I think one thing I like with Martin, I think they both give you something physical. Martin adds some energy on special teams for sure. And I think he's done a nice job. Chris Moore is a guy that when Terry's not in there, when Noah's not in there, he can go and give you a little bit more size there. But you got to catch the ball more consistently. And so I think that's always been the hard thing. So, we'll see what they do there. I think the good thing for them is that Luke McCaffrey is starting to contribute more. Not like he's not getting the 5 catches for 100 yards or for 80 yards. You give a couple catches a game. You continue those returns. You continue doing coverage. That's having a good player on your roster. So the last thing, Bram, is this is a big stretch now. So, Chicago coming in. What do you think about this game, first of all? And what do you remember about that moment last year?
That was an out-of-body experience. I thought London was going to throw me out of the booth. We turned into, just screaming maniacs. I think we all felt the same way. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible. And it's a privilege to have been part of that. Just really absolutely incredible. I think I know they're not going to want to, our side's going to want to talk about it a ton because they don't like to look back. I mean, they're going to get the treatment because it's on Monday Night Football, which means ESPN is going to want to
tell you it's coming. Yeah. I can tell you it's coming.
Yeah, I already know that there's no way around it that there's going to be, content made, a lot of content about it that's going to be put around it. But the team that feels the pressure about this is Chicago. They're the ones that lost, and not only lost after it, unraveled and lost 9 straight after that. Fired their coach. They bring in Ben Johnson. We know what that storyline is. He's going to be asked about Washington, of course, this week. Tyreek Stevenson, I already saw a podcast with him where he's talking about what he did. Caleb Williams is, like whether he wants to admit it or not, like there's going to be all the think pieces about did they pick the right quarterback and all that type of stuff. And he's coming home again. Like it is all real. Like I had this week circled because I couldn't wait for this. I was hoping both teams would be in this position where this game would really, really matter. And I really, really, so I'm really happy that we are there again. The subtext and the storylines and all of it that is sitting there that's just out in front of it. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this. Like, I think I was kind of looking more forward to this one than next week, which is Dallas. Like, this has got everything I love about the sport all in one on a national stage. I can't wait for this.
Well, no, it'll be fun too. And it's also because you're right. The funny thing is like the comparison thing, it's going to matter more in terms of quarterbacks. It's more on Caleb because this team didn't have a choice. They took Jaden. And I also think had they had a choice, they'd have taken Jaden because like that was the number one guy on the board. And, when you're going through that process, you heard like, hey, there were people in Chicago who liked Jaden more. But I don't know if those people are still there or not. But bottom line is like, you're right. And he's coming home. And that was a tough moment for that team last year. I also remember like in that game, they should have put that game away much before then. And they kind of let Chicago back in. And then Caleb gets hot. Caleb is a streak quarterback. He can have streaky games. He can have streaky quarters. But there were times in that game where like he looked terrible and then he looked really good. So like that's the thing you have to guard against with him for sure. And I think Bram too, given like you pointed out what's coming up because Dallas is going to be tough. It always is. Then it's Kansas City. Then it's Seattle and it's Detroit. Like this is a tough stretch coming up. So you need to win these games at home in this setting. You need to win this game. Not like the season's over or anything like that, but if you want to start to get momentum or start to build, get to where you want to go, these are the kind of games that you've got to pull through and build off what you just showed last week. And I do think like that was not the best this team can play, but I think in terms of the mindset that they showed in that game, I thought that was really, really good. So
I want to say this too. They're off a bye week. Ben Johnson draws up a lot of stuff. I am open-minded to they're going to try things on next Monday night too. They've had 2 weeks to think about it, so that'll be interesting too.
Well, to that point, they're going to try things against a secondary that has given up things. That's the part that you have to protect against. So it's like, what can Jaden do and the offense do to counter that? But that's my concern is that he gives you a lot of misdirection. He gives a lot of eye candy, and that the coverage it was better, but it has to be better if you want to get to where you're going. The good thing is they do, unlike last year, they can play well against the run. And again, it's funny because like Kinlaw, it goes back to that. And he and Payne have been terrific. So any other parting thoughts here, Bram?
I'm still tired. Those West Coast trips they're tiring.
I mean, so here's what, like, just as little behind, this is not complaining about our lives because you come back on those red eyes, it is not fun. And you get like, I think I got maybe an hour's sleep. And then yesterday I come home and it's like, I get home at 9 a.m., walk through the door, and you're working through until about 8:30, with various stuff. What are you watching the game? And when you're rewatching the game, Bram, as you know, on those 1 hour sleep, it takes a few cups of coffee. So it's very tough. But the next day is tough. But then we got like, then you just get over it and it's a Monday night game and you don't get any sleep. And then you travel to Dallas and it's like it's just that cycle. So for us, it's difficult. This is something you and I talked about this earlier today. I think, and like just how for the players, how it's going to be, because like my concern with this schedule, like whatever we go through, like nobody cares. I don't even care. But how does it affect the team? And, just like the primetime games, the travel, how do they prevent it from being, something that takes a lot out of them? That's something I'm going to,
they're playing a lot of night games. They're going to go short week to Dallas. They're going to have to come home, travel back to Kansas City, short week to come home again. It's all night games. They're getting home in the middle of the night. It's just a lot, and I'm with you. Like, it's just a lot. Like Dan Quinn is very good at managing this stuff. I think he organizes this. He thinks this stuff through. It is going to be a tough stretch just from you are a person doing a physical thing, being asked to do it week to week, and put on top of it very, very unusual and very difficult schedules. So, it's a lot to think about here. So hopefully, they'll get through this stretch and have a good record when they come out of it. And then the schedule turns a little bit, for them. And then we can go have a nice trip to Spain, get a week off, and hopefully on the other side be refreshed. But this is a critical time based on all the travel demands on them.
And Spain will be fun because the Rioja region is great for reds. And, there's the Tempranillos are great there. So I'm looking forward to that. The Toro region is really good. So yes, I'm looking forward to the game too. But anyway, yes. All right, Bram, that's all we got, folks. Appreciate you tuning in. I will be back on Wednesday night, Thursday morning with Nikki Javala from The Athletic. Good conversation with her today. I'll have a Bears reporter on for later in the week. 5 thoughts over the weekend. Getting you ready for Monday night. Big game. Thanks for tuning in. I will talk to you next time.